1,700 miles on a signal stick. She did pretty good. Howdy everybody, Steve here, KM9G. I am back from a road trip. Let's go talk about the road trip. Time warp, love it. The Yaesu FT-5D, this is the radio that I picked up at Dayton Hamvention earlier this year, and this is the radio that I'm gonna take on my trip, and I hope that I'll be able to broadcast beacon APRS on the drive back. So I wanna see what's in here and see if I need anything. The manual, this is the regular basic manual. There is a much more advanced manual than this one out there. So I'm gonna download the other manual in a PDF and bring that with me. But I do need to know how to charge it, and I need to know what interface cable it comes with, so that way I can program it on the road and power it on the road and antenna type stuff. So this is, oh wow, this is high technology right here. This is USB-A to mini USB. It was USB-C, then micro USB, then mini USB. So this is 3 generations old. That's great. The radio itself looks pretty good. Oh, hang on. Where are we? That's gone. That looks pretty good. Fairly lightweight without the battery. Let's get the battery on it. Our battery is 7.2 volts, 2200 milliamp hours, 16 watt hours. I'm hoping to be able to power this off of the vehicle while I am traveling, so I don't need to worry about that. All right, there we go with that. We have an antenna. The antenna's in a sealed bag. Why is the antenna in a sealed bag? What's the point in that? Make sure my antenna is fresh and new. So this is SMA female, SMA male. So I'll have to get the right adapter to adapt this to BNC, but that gets us started. We've got a radio, we've got an antenna, fantastic. And then there is some belt clip magickery happening here. You guys know what the opposite of the word magickery is, and I don't want to lose the screws that are in here, so I'm gonna dump this out on my owner's manual. There's one, there's two, there's the belt clip, and then there's this little bit of covering piece there. And then we have this belt clip type deal. So the belt clip connects on to this quick release thing for the radio, and there's some more screws in there I don't want to lose. Because depending on how you set this thing up, you can screw the belt clip directly to the battery, or you can screw the belt clip to the quick release holster deal. I'm gonna screw it to the quick release holster deal because I wanna try that and see how much I like that, or don't like that, as the case may be. Goes there, and I am going to assume I need the little guys. I don't like the black ones anyway. And since we're doing this mobile style, I'm gonna whip out my Leatherman and make this happen mobile style. So that would go there like that. It's got a little bit of a groove that it fits in. Not too tight, I'm just screwing into plastic. Okay, that looks good. And then we have this little clip here, and I'm going to assume that's to dress that up. There we go, all dressed up. And now we got a removable belt clip. That's an interesting feature. I have not seen that on any other radio yet, but that's a pretty good feature. I like that. We have a US power supply, and we have a European, I think it's European, adapter that would snap in place of the US power supply. And what does it say this thing here is? All right, output, 10.5 volts, 1 amp, 10.5 watts. So I need to look up in the owner's manual somewhere and see how much charging power this thing can take, because I might have some fun I can do on car charging. But that is all that's in the box. So the basic user's manual wasn't all that useful in terms of information, so I had to keep digging a little bit. And luckily I'm a ham and I'm resourceful. I went onto Yaesu's website and I grabbed the advanced manual and I searched for the word volt. A lot of times it shows up, but there isn't really a table that says this radio accepts an input charging range of X to Y. It's all the way down in the troubleshooting section. If your battery should happen to not be charging, what should you do? Well, what they said was make sure that your charger provides an input voltage of 10.5 to 16 volts. So I'm a resourceful ham. I've got a whole box full of kit that I've been collecting forever and ever and ever. And one of the things I have is this cigarette lighter plug to power pole connectors. So this is 12 volts from the car's alternator to my handy dandy 12 volt shack power standard connector. And then I have another deal where I have a power pole to 5525 that I use a lot. It's a little short one. This works with the LDG tuner. It works with the 705. It works with the X6100. It works with almost all of the MFJ gear. It's a pretty popular connector, and I have a little short jumper that I can use. And if it's not long enough, I can add another 12-volt jumper with power poles on both ends of that. So we take our cigarette lighter plug and our jumper, and we plug those two in. But this is 5525, so I had to dig around even farther. It took me a long time to find this. I had to go to DX Engineering's website to find this one. They sell a USB powered charger and they sell a cigarette lighter powered charger. And on like picture number 4, again, it's not listed in the documentation. It says that this is a 4.0 millimeter by 1.7 millimeter connector. So the outside is 4.0 and the inside hole is 1.7. This is 5525, so the outside is 5.5 millimeter and the inside is 2.5 millimeter. That's how that works. So we take these two and we marry them up. Just to be safe, I took my multimeter and verified that it was center positive, which is important. I don't want to reverse voltage the radio. That could be a big problem. I also compared it against the supplied wall wart transformer power supply that comes with the radio, and that is also center positive. That one puts out 10.5 volts. This one puts out 12 point something. And if you open up the radio's dust cover, fits right inside. Now I'm good to go for powering my radio up on the trip. So now I can go get on the airplane. Good morning, everybody. It is currently 58 degrees here, and today, for some reason, I am flying to Tucson, Arizona. Well, I mean, I know the reason. I'm going to pick up a truck for the ability to tow my travel trailer. Bugs are out this morning like crazy. It is already 80 degrees in Tucson, Arizona. I won't get there until 5 o'clock tonight, so it'll be well over 100 by the time I get there, I am sure. But we got all the bags packed, and I am ready to get on the plane and start this adventure. Very wise person once told me an adventure is what you get when you didn't get what you planned for. I planned pretty good. I don't know what the adventure is going to be. Truck in hand. Let's get on the road. Well, this just reached up and bit me right through my shoe. That was fun.
Control, he's helping me out.
I just finished, I just attempted a Parks on the Air activation at White Sands National Park in New Mexico, K0970. I was running an untested setup, not a good idea. I was running an untested setup on QRP, even worse idea. Had to make some modifications to the station to get it up and running. Tried hunting for a little bit. I made 1 total contact. And I heard a 4.4. They were 5.9 to me, but they gave me a 4.4. I'll take it. I got 1 in the logs. I'll upload it because it was a park-to-park contact, so the other guy on the other side needs that park-to-park contact, even though I didn't get the park activated. It took me about an hour, and weather was great, scenery was beautiful, and I will try again next time. I feel like I'm on a time crunch because I'm trying to get back up to Wisconsin and I'm driving, but I'm not really on a time crunch because what am I going to do when I get back to Wisconsin? More Parks on the Air, I guess. More playing with radio, and that's what I was doing here. Maybe it's just out of sorts a little bit from being on the road. Who knows? APRS has been doing good for me on this trip. If you are an APRS user, follow along KM9G-7. You can see where I was and how good all the iGates and digipeters are on this ridiculously long road trip. We're looking at about 26 hours grand total time on the road, but I'm going to make some stops here and there, so it's going to take me quite a bit longer than that. Since APRS was doing so good and I was receiving signals from a very long way away, I thought I'd try calling on 146.5 too. There ain't nobody on 146.5 too. I'm sad. That's the breaks of the game on 5.2, but we are back on the road again, and I am hammered down for Luck, Wisconsin. So I'm in the middle of this road trip and I need to figure out where the nearest POTA is. So let's get on our favorite web browser. Mine is Firefox, and there's my APRS map. Well, hey, let's see where I am. That's probably pretty accurate. I have no idea, but it's probably pretty accurate. At any rate, I need to go to the POTA website. So let's do a new tab. Let's go to POTA.app, and then in this upper left corner, you see this. I'm pointing at it. You guys can't see. Oh, over there, you see this. They call it the hamburger menu. It's 3 bars. And what I want to do is I want to find the map, and then the DX entity is US. Not that that really matters. I can probably just hit this location button here. Hey, look at that. There's a location button. Yep, that's pretty accurate to where I am. Now, where is the nearest yellow dot to my trip? I'm heading up 35 north here. Is there anything nearby? Bethany, Leon, Des Moines. Huh. That sounds good enough. Let's do this park in Des Moines, Walnut Woods State Park. All right, K2326, more info. And the closest thing that I can get is this longitude, latitude, or I can go to the website, or because I use Google and Google is the fountain of all knowledge on the entire planet, I'll just say route me to Walnut Woods State Park. So when you see me next on camera, we'll be at Walnut Woods State Park. Welcome to Walnut Woods State Park, somewhere in Iowa. Like lots of spots to pull off and set up my station, but I'm going to take a drive around and see what there is around. So the weather is cooler, the humidity is higher, and it is overcast. So I don't know, it feels a little bit warmer, a little bit harder to shed the heat, but other than that, it's about the same as it was I guess we were in New Mexico yesterday. I don't remember, it's been a long time. Anyway, I have the same antenna, the same setup, and hopefully we'll be able to make more than one contact today. It's the Gable 7350T. I've got 4 10-meter radials on it, and it is hooked up right now to the Nano BNA, so I'm going to see what that's all about. The first trick is to figure out, I want to be in the 20-meter band, which stops at 14,350, so I want to be a little bit higher, and then I want to be a little bit lower so I know where my dip is. So originally I started at 13 megahertz, and it was flat across the board at 9 to 1 SWR, which doesn't really tell me anything. So I bumped it down to 1 megahertz, and now you can see the dip in my SWR is 1.6 at 5.9 megahertz, at almost 6 megahertz. So it's really close to the 40-meter band. It's still a little long, and so we need to shrink our antenna down. Shrinking the length of the Gable antenna is pretty easy. You loosen this nut up. I've already done that. There are some measurements. Here we go. There are some measurements on the antenna, And I'm going to bring this down to about 5 and see what 5 does for me. So we're at 5, let's go take a look. All right, so 5 has moved the SWR. You can't really tell too much, but it has definitely dipped a little bit more up here. Let's go up there and see what frequency that's at. All right, so that's 1.7 at 11.3. So we aren't quite into 14 megahertz yet, but I am going to change the stimulus now. I'm going to change the start. And the start I'm going to put at 10 megahertz instead of 1 megahertz. And the stop I'm going to keep at 15 megahertz. And you can see how it's really flat across the bottom and you can't really tell. So we're at 3 to 1 there. Let's go up to, at 14,350, we're at 7. So I want to shorten it even more because I know that it's dipping down here, which means my antenna is too long. And there is the game. I'm at 1.2 to 1 at 14.1. And what I wound up doing, this antenna is really high Q. What I wound up doing was going from 1 to 20 to get me the right spec. So now that we're in the right window, let me change the stimulus. 14 megahertz. And we want to stop at 14350 megahertz. And the nano VNA has only a certain number of samples it can take, so we're giving it a shorter amount of space to take samples over. All right, so right there, 14,182 is best. Let me show you on the antenna. And so that's where we wound up on the measurements on the antenna itself. We're at 3.5, and it goes all the way up to about here at 18. So what I did was I went from 18 to 9, and then from 9 to 4.5, and then from 4.5 to 2.25. 2.25 was above the band, so I went back up an inch to 3-ish, 3.5-ish, and there we are. I can fine tune it a little bit more, but this will get me on the air, and that's what's important.
Kilo 2 Lima, QRZ.
Kilo Mike 9 Golf.
K2L, QRZ.
Kilo Mike 9 Golf, QRP.
Alpha Bravo 0.
Nope, he can't hear me. But he's coming in crystal clear, and the SWR is nice and low.
Thanks.
CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Mike 9 Golf, KM9G from Walnut Woods State Park, Kilo 2326 in Iowa. Kilo Mike 9 Golf, QRZ. This is Kilo Mike 9 Golf, KM9G from Walnut Woods State Park, Kilo 2326 in Iowa. Kilo Mike 9 Golf, QRZ. All right, so that park is all done. This is Kilo 2326, and I am packing up and getting back on the road, back up to Wisconsin. Real quick on the antenna, this would be a good time if you were using an antenna like this to write down the settings that you used on the antenna in order to get it into resonance and get you that much faster at getting on the air next time. So this is about 3.5 on the scale on the side of the antenna. And I've got 4 10-meter radials, so I will know for next time that gets me onto 20 meters. This is the same antenna that we used the other day. It is just a different location, and I took a little bit more time to set it up. But there were some band condition issues yesterday. There were a little bit today. Band was a lot better today than it was yesterday. It also helps that there is some contest stuff going on. It is Canada Day, so I worked a couple of Canada Day stations, and it is also the 13 Colonies event weekend. So I worked a couple of special event calls for the 13 Colonies weekend. Fantastic. Short activation, back on the road. Well, the whole APRS thing was pretty interesting to see how many digipeters there were and there weren't. I'll put a map of all of the progress up on the screen right now, and a link in the description down below where you can see what the trip was like. But let's see what kind of messages we got. So you hit the function menu, and then you hit station list, and there are a ton of stations, and it only saves your last 60 stations. This is not easy to do one-handed, but it's not terrible. So these are just all the beacons that I heard on the way out. There were some weather reports, there were some other things. When I got through Kansas, it was pretty cool because there was a section in Kansas where there was some severe weather, and I got a lot of severe weather alerts. So like this one here is an example, KM9G-7. That is my beacon being repeated back to me from a digipeater, which is pretty cool. That's how you know that you made it out. So at the time, I was doing 71 miles an hour. The digipeater was 28.7 miles away. July 2nd, 1:14 UTC. And it says where I was located. It shows my icon. And then I didn't put any status text in, but I could have it say like I'm listening on 146.52 or, you know, anything along those lines. And then there's these little arrows down here on the bottom, which don't seem to do much. Hit back. Let's see what another message looks like. This is from W0LT. We hit the function button to see it. That's a fixed beacon. See, there's a juicy one in here somewhere. This station here, N0QV. It's 110.9 miles away, 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Nice. But I was actually getting some really good long distance reception out of this. Let's go back and look at the message list. So we hit the function key and then we hit the M list button. And then there are some messages. I tried to join into APRS Thursdays by sending a message to ANSRVR with CQHOTG and my call sign, but I wasn't in range of a digipeater, so that never happened. And then AC3IK sent me a message while I was on the road and I couldn't respond while I was driving. And so I tried to send a message back later on and I wasn't near a digipeater then either and it couldn't go through. So that was one of the pitfalls of not having, you know, good signal coverage. That was an awesome trip. 1,700 miles. 2 days, two and a skosh, 2 1/4. I got there about 5 p.m. on Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night. And then I drove until I got tired and then got up Friday morning. The days are all blur. Got up Friday morning, started driving, found a park, activated the park. Not so much, only got 1 contact. Drove for the entire rest of the day, went to bed, got up, drove, activated the park. That one I got, 11 contacts, and then back on the road. I needed to pick up a truck that I'm going to use to tow my travel trailer with. And that truck is in the driveway now, and that means my old truck is for sale because it wasn't big enough. So if you want to follow along with more of the travel journey I am now living for a living, I am living full-time RV in a travel trailer to start off with, and who knows where it's going to take us from there. But I needed something bigger to tow with, and that's what this journey was all about, and figured I'd bring ham radio along with me. What I used on this trip was the signal stick antenna with the BNC mag mount into the car, the Yaesu FT-5D, the ICOM 705, the Elecraft T1 tuner, the Gable 7350T antenna, the Gable ham radio tripod. That thing's fantastic. All of this stuff will be linked in the description down below. I've got videos on most of this stuff and even more videos coming out. I need to do a special video on tuning up that 7350T. Follow along with the travel journey on the other channel. I will link that video right up here, and that will be about all of my travels, and I'll be over there waiting for you. Thanks for being awesome.